Give me 2 seconds to get this up on the screen. Well, good morning. Is this too loud? Okay, because I can tell the sound guy back there turned it down if it was. At any rate, so welcome, and I want you to know something. When I put a talk like this together, I'm not really talking to you. I'm talking to me. Whenever I do a talk like this, I really get a lot out of it. And so when I share with you this morning, I'm really kind of talking to myself. And you guys can listen in if you want to. Okay? After I left the service, I found myself in Durango, Colorado, trying to finish up a business degree. Don't know what I was going to do with that, but a business degree. And at a place called Fort Lewis College. My parents lived at that time they lived in Florida. And they decided to come out and visit me, and it was about the time of my birthday. And so on the way out, my mother asked me, "Bob, we're going to be there for your birthday. What would you like for your birthday?" And so I said, "Mom, you know what I'd really like?" She goes, "What's that?" "I would like you to teach me how to sew." Because she was a professional seamstress. She could make beautiful dresses and anything. And I said, "I want you to teach me how to sew." And that really caught her off guard. She said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, Mom, I'd really like that. I'd like to know how to sew." Okay, so when they came out, lo and behold, they show up, and she had bought me a used sewing machine. I didn't expect that. So she opened the sewing machine up and she proceeded to teach me how to sew. And I found it very, what would you say, therapeutic, relaxing. I really enjoyed making things. I was also working at a fire department, and so I would sew at night. And the guys used to make fun of me because that's not a thing guys usually do. But the very first time I put on my very first shirt, it was a Western shirt, kind of a denim bottom and a nice print yoke on the top, and they just sat back and went, "Wow, will you make me one?" I said, "No, I will not. But I'll teach you how to sew." But at any rate, so the one thing about sewing that I learned, and that is, when you go to make something, you usually go to the store and you buy a pattern, right? And you look at all the pictures and, "Oh, I like that shirt, okay, I want to make that." And when you're getting ready to sew, you need to cut out the pattern. But I found out something, that if you don't follow the pattern just right, then you got problems. And so whenever you're sewing, you really want to make sure that you follow the pattern correctly, because if you don't, you'll come out with something that looks really different. Maybe one arm is longer than the other, or doesn't fit around your chest, or the collar's crooked. You gotta follow the pattern, right? And as I was putting this talk together, I thought about you, Terry. Terry and his crew built this church, and I'm still amazed when I walk in this place. I think this is a beautiful facility, a beautiful church. I really like it. It feels homey. But he did a good job, and I really like the way it's built. But I also know for a fact, Terry, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that when he built this church, he had a set of blueprints. And the architect that made these blueprints made it just so that Terry could look at the blueprints and build what the blueprints said. Now, do you think Terry rolled up those things, put them in the corner, and just went and did his own thing? No, he had to follow the blueprints, because if he didn't, he would come out with something that would be totally different. And what he was shooting for is he wanted the church to look just like the blueprints. In other words, just like the blueprint said it was supposed to be built. And reproduction of the prince. And it looks like he did it, doesn't he? I mean, look at this beautiful building. It looks really nice. Now, our scripture in verse 24, then said Jesus unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. When I was putting this thing together, this talk together, I looked at the word follow and I thought, follow me, follow me. How do we follow Jesus? What did he exactly mean by the word, I guess you could say, follow? Like if one of you got up and started walking in the back and I got right behind you and walked out the door with you, I'm following you, right? That's pretty simple. But is that all there is? Are we just supposed to follow him down the road? So I looked up the word in the original Greek writing. This is Jesus talking himself when he said this. This is what I found. I'm going to try to pronounce this for you. Akulotheo. Akulotheo. That's the Greek word for follow. And it means this. Now follow along carefully with this. A road. Properly to be in the same way with. That is to accompany specifically as a disciple. Now I went back to this. Properly to be in the same way with. Okay? To be in the same way with. Is that following? I mean, I can follow anybody. I can, you can turn left, I can turn left, turn right, I can turn right. But what does it mean properly to be in the same way with the person you're following? In John 14:6, he said, Jesus saith unto them, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. I am the way, properly to be in the same way with. What way was Jesus?
Serving.
Yeah, I see you guys thinking. I'm getting you thinking. All right, so well, let's go on. By the way, this is not going to be a very long talk, so you'll be out of here by noon, I'm sure. Okay, Matthew 16:24. First of all, let me ask you a question. When you're teaching a child something, what is one of the best ways to teach a child? You just tell them once and you expect them to get it? Johnny, don't throw your dirty clothes on the floor. Put them in the hamper. And then you're done. You never have to tell that kid again that, because they'll do it, right? Who said that? Jeff, is that you? You're right. Repetition. The best way to say is, Johnny, I told you 3 times already, put your clothes in the hamper, don't throw them on the floor. And that's one of the best ways to teach a child because repetition seems to work. Now, we're children of God, right? So you think we're going to get out of the lesson of repetition? No. Because Jesus, in 3 of the Gospels, he repeats himself almost word for word. And let's read them. Matthew 16:24. Then said Jesus unto the disciples, if any man will come after me, is that following? Yeah. Let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. To be in the same way with. To be, he's saying, follow me, be like me. That's what he was saying to us. Mark 8:34. And when he had called the people unto him with his disciples also, he said unto them, whatsoever will come after, or whosoever will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and be in the same way with me. Be like me. Follow me. Luke 9:23. And he said to them all, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross daily, and be in the same way with me. In other words, be like me and follow me. Be like me. This is out of a book called A Call to Stand Apart, page 47. Jesus himself, while he dwelt among men, was often in prayer. Our Savior identified himself with our needs and weaknesses, in that he became a suppliant and petitioner, seeking from his Father fresh supplies of strength, that he might come forth braced for duty and trial. He is our example in all things. He is a brother in our infirmities, in all the points tempted like we are, but as the sinless one, his nature recoiled from evil. He is our example. He is our pattern. We need to be in the same way that he was. Now, I'd like to put a demonstration on. Will you bear with me? Hold right there. Don't go anywhere. Cheryl and Mike, I'm thinking of you. Gotta protect the carpet, don't we? This is my pattern. I want to make many of these exactly the same way this is. Just like this one. So what do I need to do? I need to follow the pattern, don't I? Okay? So, what I do is I take this pattern, I get it exactly lined up with this piece of wood. I don't have a pencil, but thumbnails work on soft wood.
Okay.
Is that the way you do it, Terry? And here we go. I'm going to make another one just like it. Okay. I have my original, and now I have another one. And if I did it right, oh, look at that. Sometimes you just get lucky, huh, Terry? That's exactly the same length. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you think it's exactly the same length? I think it might be off a little bit. It is. You can't make something just perfect like the original. But if I take the original, okay, and I cut another piece of wood, it's going to be really close to the original. And if I make 20 of them out of my pattern, it's going to work okay, right? I'll get 20 of the same thing. But what happens if I put my pattern down and I take the piece that I cut, and I'm going to use this as the pattern? And so I line it up again. I mark it. I cut it. It is exactly as the second pattern? Not really. Close. But how close is it to the original pattern? It's probably further off. And it is. I missed it. So what if I take the third one and use that as a pattern? You see what I'm saying? Is that when we go through life, if we don't use Jesus as our pattern, I've seen people say to me, the church is the most important thing in the world. Well, you know something? It's not. Jesus, our pattern, is the most important thing in the world. If we follow the church, are we going to be just like Jesus? Well, maybe in some parts we will, maybe in some parts we won't. How about a pastor? I've seen people follow a pastor more than anything else. They would fall in love with a pastor. Whatever he says, that's gospel. That's really good. No. He's not our pattern. And if we go off on the third thing and try to follow a pastor instead of the original pattern, Jesus, how far off can we get? Quite a bit. And there's other things that draw us away from Jesus. And we got to remember, he is a pattern. He said, what did he say? Did he say, follow the church? No. Follow a really good, we got some good pastors. Follow a really good pastor. Did he say that? He said simply, follow me. Be in the same way with me. Be like me. That's what he was saying. Can I put this down now? I didn't make too much of a mess, Mike. Cheryl. Okay, so he is our example in how many things? A few? 99% things? All. So how important is it to get to know him? How could we be like him if we don't know him or know what he's like? Now let me ask you a question. The very first time I got that machine, if I said, Mom, just kind of be quiet, Mom. Sit in the corner. I'm going to make a shirt. What chances do you think I would have of making a halfway decent shirt? I'd make a lot of mistakes, wouldn't I? I'd make a whole bunch of mistakes. And it would probably take me 4 or 5, 6 times before I got it all right. And so how in the world can we follow him and be like him? Is there any hope for us? Well, yes, there is hope. What do you think? Well, like I said, the odds of me making a shirt first time without any kind of instruction or using a pattern, it wouldn't happen. Do you think I'd make any mistakes? A whole bunch. Now, but when I make a mistake, if I use the pattern, I can always go back and correct the mistake, can't I? And then my shirt will come out better than if I didn't use a pattern. And it's the same thing with us Christians. Now that you're a Christian and you believe in Jesus, can I ask you a question? Do you make mistakes? Wait a minute. You just told me you follow Jesus. You're in the same way with him. You follow him. You're being like him. Do you make mistakes? You betcha, because we're human. So what do we do when we make a mistake in life? Do we just forget the pattern and walk away?
No.
Or do we, hey, I like your answer. Or do we try again to be in the same way with Jesus? We try to be in the same way with Jesus. And so we go back to the pattern, we go back to Jesus and get in the same way. And so it is with Jesus. We all make mistakes. We fall, we fail, we sometimes feel like giving up. But like the shirt, if we go back to the pattern and we follow him, we will in time turn out to be in the same way as him. We will be like him. He changes us when we do that, to become more like him. And if we just decide to follow him, he will change us to be more like him. And this is how it's done. In 2 Corinthians 3:18, this is a very, very important verse. And we all, with unveiled faces, reflecting like bright mirrors the glory of the Lord, are being transformed into the same likeness from one degree of radiant holiness to another, even as derived from the Lord the Spirit. So what's that saying is that when Jesus said, follow me, to be in the same way with him, to be like him, when we do that, we find out that we are changing. Tell me something. My first pattern, even though I used a pattern, excuse me, even though I used a pattern, my first shirt came out okay. My 5th shirt came out better. My 10th shirt came out really good. And so on and so forth. So if we decide to take Jesus' advice and follow him, he says if we do that, he will change us. what do you suppose your character is going to come out like? You'll be in the same way as him, won't you? He said he will change you if you spend time with him. You know, that is a law. That is a physical law. You cannot get away from that whatsoever. If you spend time with him, you will be changed. What law is this? Gravity. You're right. If I say to gravity, hey gravity, I'm Bob Mead, and I demand that you do not grab hold of this clicker when I drop it. Do you understand? It doesn't care who I am. It's a physical law. And Jesus gave us a spiritual law right there in 2 Corinthians 3:18. He said, if you spend time with me, you will be changed. He asked us over and over again, follow me. Follow me. I know this is hard to do, but would anybody help me out? Would anybody? It's a real simple thing. Linda, would you help me? Thank you. Now, all I'm going to ask you to do is follow me. Okay?
Can I hang on? No. Okay.
Okay, follow me. Is she following me? Okay, now, I'm going to ask you to do something more now. Follow me, but be like me. Okay? All right. Are you being like me? Okay, be like me, right? Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible. Okay, stop. She followed me for a short time, didn't she? Doing nothing. And then I asked her to be like me, and she became like me because she started clapping her hands and singing, correct? Isn't that exactly what Jesus told us?
Yes.
Thank you, Linda. Not only did he say, follow me, he said, be like me. Now, Mike hit it on the hammer on the head earlier in the sermon. He said this. What did you say, Mike? Remember?
Serve, yeah.
Serve one another. And that's what Jesus came to teach us, isn't it? He said, serve one another. Be like me. Did Jesus come and he didn't serve anybody, did he?
Yeah.
What? He did, didn't he? You're a smart little girl. Jesus came here to serve, and that's why he said to us, follow me, which comes out to say, be like me. Be like me. And that's the whole crux of being a Christian. Now, is that a difficult thing to do? By all means, yes it is, because you know something? Some of you don't smell good, you don't look good, I don't like you, it's just hard sometimes. I'm just playing with you here. But it's true. Some people are unlovable, unlikable. Did Jesus walk away from those people and say, forget it? I think you smell. No. What did he do? He served them. Now, in that supper, he washed the feet of the disciples. Do you know they wore sandals in those days? Do you know none of the roads were paved? They had no sidewalks. So what were they walking on? Dirt. Have you ever walked into dirt for miles and miles? Did you ever look at your feet when you do that? Kind of stinky, dirty, yucky, caked with clay or whatever. Anybody want to clean my feet when they're like that? No. I wouldn't either. I wouldn't even want to clean my feet. And yet Jesus gave us a good example. He served the disciples. He's asking us, be the same way. Be in the same way that I'm in. Be like me. Follow me. All right? And then the last slide here. This picture is a really cool picture that Bev had a special deal in her class about a guy who took a lot of pictures of Jesus doing things that were kind of out of the norm that we understand it to be. And so Jesus is saying in John 13:15, for I have given you an example that ye do as I have done to you. And what's he done? He has served us. He served us with his life. He gave his life. And so he's saying to us, follow me. Be in the same way with me. Be like me. And if you think you can do that on your own, forget it. Just stop right there. You might as well just go do something different. Because we can't. We need his help to do everything that we can to do what he's asked us to do, and that is to serve one another. Because it's hard serving other people. It takes time and effort, sometimes out of your comfort zone. So just remember that he's asked us to follow me, which means be like me. Be in the same way as I am. And that is a servant, to serve. All right, if you give me a couple seconds here, I'll see if I can get the song up.